the web would be a pretty dull place without a splash of colour. There's a number of different properties that take colour as a value, and there are 4 different colour syntaxes in CSS. And that's what we'll be focusing on in this video. Those formats are colour keywords, hex, RGB, and HSL. Let's take a look at each of them in turn. There are 147 named colours in CSS3. There's actually only 140 different colours, as 7 of them are duplicates, just with different spellings of the word grey. Here they are as colours. And here they are as a list of keywords. Personally, I find this list pretty useless. There's lots to choose from, but it's hard to remember what they all look like. What is pale violet red, for example? How pale? How violet? How red? What is Gainsborough? How about burly wood or golden rod? These aren't that useful, but fortunately, we've got a few more options. In CSS, colours are defined in the standard red, green, blue colour space, or sRGB, where colours are defined through 3 channels: red, green, and blue. One way of defining colour in CSS is using the RGB syntax. Here the values range from 0 to 255 for each of the 3 colour components. In this case, specifying 255 for each of them gives us the colour white. With RGBA, we can make semi-transparent colours. Here, a 4th value known as alpha determines the opacity of a colour. This value is a decimal ranging from 0 to 1, where 0 is completely transparent and 1 is completely opaque. The transparent keyword is represented as RGBA 0000. Probably the colour format that I use most often is hex. Hex is short for hexadecimal, which is a base 16 numbering system. Most people are more familiar with decimal, or base 10, like the metric system. A hex colour is broken down into 3 couplets that specify the red, green and blue components. The values of these couplets are in base 16, and they range from 00 to FF. You can think of it as 00 being no colour, and FF as full colour. FF is actually the decimal number 255, expressed in base 16. In this case we have full red, full green and full blue, which combine to make white. In this second example we have no red, full green and no blue, which gives us green. When both values in each of the 3 couplets are the same, the hex value can be abbreviated to a shorthand 3-digit format. HSL stands for hue, saturation and lightness. Hue is specified in degrees from 0 to 360 and corresponds to a position around the colour wheel. 0 degrees represents red, and then colours blend through oranges, yellows, greens, blues, purples, pinks, and back to red again at 360 degrees. Saturation determines how vivid a colour is, from 0% monochrome to 100% vivid. Lightness is also set as a percentage and determines the overall amount of luminance of the colour. HSL has a corresponding HSLA version, which allows for alpha transparency. So how do we use these colours? The colour property only affects text, so it allows us to set the text colour of any element. But there's lots of other properties that accept a colour, background colour for example, or colour stops in a gradient. We can also set border colour, or the colour component of box shadow or text shadow. We can even change the fill colour of an SVG path or polygon. There is one last colour keyword that has a unique, if not entirely useful purpose. Current colour is a special keyword that links the value of the colour property to other properties that accept a colour, like border colour, box shadow, and text shadow. Let's look at a quick demo. We can create a box with a border and a drop shadow as follows, and pass in the colour values as a keyword, hex, RGB, or HSL. If instead of a colour value we use current color. The color of the border and drop shadow is black, because this is the default value for the color property. If we now set the color to something like hot pink, this will be used in place of current color instead. This allows us to remove the color value from the border and box shadow properties, which may save you a few keystrokes.